Okay, so the other day I was working at home as I always do, and I heard a helicopter outside. And usually in our area, that means somebody just drowned out on the Merrimack River, and because it happens fairly often out at Castlewood State Park. And but I came out and I looked down the street and I could see this helicopter just over the top of the houses down in the cul-de-sac. And so I ran back in and I grabbed my drone and I launched it from the driveway right away and sent it out in the direction where the helicopter was. And that's when I started to get really, really nervous because I could not see in the viewfinder. You know, on the DJI Mavic Pro, you use an iPhone as part of your controller, and you can see whatever the camera sees through on your iPhone screen, which is fairly small. Mine's got a great high resolution, but this was a very, very sunny day, and it was super sunny, and I had tried standing underneath a tree, and but I just could not pick out the image of that helicopter on the screen. So what I found myself doing, as close as I could, is to send the drone out in the direction of the sound, and then just sort of scan around trying to find the helicopter. And this is what you see. The helicopter is not exactly centered in this shot here, but it was so easy for me to get lost as I was looking for this thing. And then I was getting nervous. If I don't know where I am, I don't know where he is. I certainly don't want to come in contact with the thing. So I switched to the map function on my screen, which instead of showing the image from the camera, it shows me positionally, GPS wise, on a map where I was, and I would reposition it that way. And again, I'm just looking through trying to find where this helicopter is. And uh, honestly, it wasn't until later that I took the SD card out of the drone and put it in my computer, and that's when I found out what this guy was doing. Of all things, he's tree trimming along the railroad tracks. Dangling below the helicopter is what appears to be about, a dozen or so circular buzz saws that are running at high speed, and he's dragging it across the limbs near the railroad tracks. You saw some of the crews down there on the tracks, and, and I, I'm thinking to myself, this is the nuttiest thing I've ever seen. I mean, by my reckoning, I would say this is a $750,000 tree trimmer. By the time you get the helicopter, and I don't know, you don't just call up Granger and say, hey, I need 12 buzz saws in a string that I can dangle from a helicopter and keep them running at high speed. Somebody dreamed it up, somebody put it together, and then you gotta, I don't know how much you have to pay to get some kookburger to fly the thing, because if you look at this as he's flying around, he's getting yanked all over the place. I mean, it's a hot day. It's very, very hot, very sunny, and you can see the broken clouds. And that is a recipe for lots of thermals and lots of updrafts and winds. So flying low to the ground on a hot summer day is enough work just staying stable uh, in any conditions like that. But you add to it, he's dragging this rope through the trees, and hopefully it's cutting the. I got a feeling that there's some branches that are thicker than others, and so you get hung up on it. And it was just yanking this helicopter all over the sky. Um, at this point, by the way, occasionally I would bring the drone back to the house and just to get reoriented. Where is it? And I would aim it in the direction of the sound, and I would put it out as low over the trees as I dared, and as far out as I dared without being over the railroad tracks. Obviously, that's where he was working. And at this point, I was starting to be able to pick out the helicopter uh, against the background in the viewfinder and stay on it a little more. And but I still at this point wasn't really sure what the guy was doing. Um, here's one of those times where I just came back to the driveway and tried to get the thing reoriented. Okay, it's pointing in the wrong direction, and I'd get it turned around and send it back out. Now here I've got him dead center, and I could see the helicopter itself in the viewfinder, but I still couldn't tell what he was doing. But oh, it was just amazing. I don't know who came up with this one. I don't know who approved it. It seemed like a good idea, but just imagine the cocktail party stories. What do you do for a living? Oh, well, I trim trees with a helicopter. Yeah, pal, have another martini or something. I just, who would believe it? So look at the way it's slicing through those branches, and I can't imagine that it's like a sidewalk edge trimmer in terms of neatness, but and I never knew it was this important, this vital to cut trees down or trim them back along railroad tracks that they'd go as far as trying this. But look at that, just slicing off branches left and right, back and forth, up and down. And, you know, watch the helicopter. And I mentioned the weather. I mentioned that it's hot and there's thermals. I mentioned that he's snagging on tree lines or tree branches that are probably too thick to cut through quickly. And then, well, power lines. So that should add to the fun. And from where I was, it looked like this guy was awfully close to the power lines. That is amazing. It's an amazing piece of flying. Not something yours truly would want to do for sure. But this guy has got some serious guts. So anyway, I'm putting it up because I found it interesting, which is what my YouTube channel is all about anyway, is stuff that I think is neat for my own enjoyment and for anyone else who is as strange as I am. You can watch it. Thanks for joining me. Remember to hit subscribe. I don't know why you'd do that, but maybe you'll find something of interest on the channel. We're coming to the end of the footage here, and this is where you get really close to those power lines. Um, I had the drone set on sport mode, which it'll move at about 40 miles an hour in that setting. And I did that on purpose. I had my thing parked over the trees near the edge of the subdivision. And I thought, if he ever starts looking at me or heading in my direction, I want to be able to back out as quickly as possible. And after he took a last couple of swipes here, I could see him backing away, and he starts to look at me, and I decided, you know what? It's time to get out of here. There's no sense putting this guy in any danger. So here he is looking at me, and it's time to get out of Dodge. Talk to you next time.